are there together as well. Now you can see the way that Adam Prebble is being caught, certainly in the corners, by the more nimble Peugeot. The quickest man on the circuit now is Nick Charles, the reigning champion. He was the man on pole position, and he's coming back at the leader. In third place is Tony Hutchings, and Hutchings is also starting to improve his lap times now. In fourth place, coming into the fray there, Tony Dolly, the winner of the first round. Tony in the familiar orange hue that he always carries on his cars, the Peugeot 206, one-time British Touring Car Championship racer Tony, going back to 1989. There's Mark Wyatt ahead of Darrell Radford's Bora, and now Nick Misen goes through. What's happened to Adrian Slade out of all of that? Have we lost him? Let's see. Nick Charles, number one, turning his way through Tower. He's becoming a real threat to the race leader, and if these two start getting it together, you know what's going to happen next. Tony Hutchings in the Audi TT, the bullet-shaped yellow Audi behind, is going to be joining in the mix as well. The Rover 220 Turbo Coupe, a car that goes back to its own one-mate championship of the mid-1990s, pulls away in a straight line as in comes the turbo, but it's through the corners where the bravery of Nick Charles will count in this Peugeot 106, the 1600cc car. He flings it out of Camp Corner, he goes across the line. That time around, Prebble does the best lap, but not for long because Hutchings is quicker, and then Tony Dolly in fourth place is quicker than anybody. There, Tony Dolly, number 30, being chased by David Kiff there with his flapping bonnet. Tony Dolly, the quickest man on the circuit, and this race is building up as they're side by side for second. Look, Charles on the inside, Hutchings in the yellow Audi alongside him. Can he find a way by? No, he can't. The Turnpike Racing run Audi slots back in behind Nick Charles, who's got to go defensive now on the run up towards the S's, and he does not want to do that because that will cost him time relative to the race leader, but it's 4 for the lead now. Tony Dolly has joined in the mix as well. Adam Prebble out of the S's, up towards Old Paddock. Tony Dolly right on the giddy limit then as he spurs up towards the right-hander. Out of Old Paddock, down through Hammerdown. He's almost on the back of Hutchings. Now, can he make a move here? Is he near enough at Tower? No, he's not. He's going to have to slot back in behind. Can't really challenge there. And again, through the corners here, Nick Charles gets himself right back onto the tail of the Rover. Tony Dolly thinks about a move against Hutchings. Goes to the inside line. Can he level with the yellow Audi? No, he can't. Hutchings hangs on to third spot. Prebble then, using a bit of the curb, comes out of Bobby's. Behind him is Charles. And now, look, Hutchings having to defend. He's losing time to the top two. He's got Tony Dolly tucked up behind him in the bright orange Peugeot then. Tony's terrific tangerine, as it's been dubbed, comes into Camp Corner. He's on the back of the bright yellow Audi TT of Tony Hutchings, a little bit ragged, but you can see the way they're all really trying so hard. Out of camp, David Kift, who's fifth now, is really being dropped, and so is the man who's in sixth place, Simon Norris, still leading his class. There's Dolly then, fourth spot at the moment, and he's still lapping quicker than all of those ahead of him, so he's definitely now coming into the mix. Problem is, he's running out of time. Short race, 10 minutes plus a lap, so he's not got too much time in which to get on with this. He's got to make up the ground now. Started fourth on the grid, but he lost out on the first lap of the race. He's trying to make up that lost time now. There is Simon Norris, sixth overall, leading his class. There's the overall leader, under great pressure now, Adam Prebble. Comes out of the S's, and still right up behind him is Nick Charles. There's Tony Dolly. Again, he gets the power down early coming out of the S's, and that seems to spit him out to the left, runs a bit wide, approaching Old Paddock. Through Hammerdown comes the Rover, and here you can see Adam Prebble doing a very good job under huge pressure. Right up behind him is Nick Charles, who has a bit of a lock-up there. He's looking for a way round. Out of the right-hander, down towards Bobby's. Prebble defending, sits in the middle of the road. There's nowhere that Charles can go, neither to the inside nor to the outside. And once again, as they start to hold each other up, Hutchings and Dolly looking just a little bit closer. 3.5 more minutes for the racer to run. Dolly there, fourth spot, comes out of Bobby's, and ahead of the leaders. One or two of the slower cars are going to have to be negotiated pretty soon. The first one they'll negotiate, in fact, is Eddie Bentham, the Yateley driver, who's going to be lapped pretty soon. Great headgear as well as great racing at Castle Combe. Cue here for your purple hat. Right, Nick Charles dropping away from the leader, and Tony Hutchings in the Audi with a quick dab on the brakes, going up. Avon Rises with him. Tony Dolly has fallen away a couple of lengths, possibly because of the back markers. Up towards Quarry they come. Prebble still leading the way in the world's widest Rover. Everywhere Nick Charles tries to go, he finds the white Rover in his way. The two of them together up toward Old Paddock, traffic ahead. So Prebble leads the way, only just. Charles right behind him. There's Hutchings third. Traffic getting in the way a little bit. Tony Hutchings very uncompromising then as he muscles his way past the back marker. They sprint their way now through Hammerdown. We've still got 4 for the race lead though, because Tony Dolly is back on the rear of this train of cars. Nick Charles thinks about where he can make a move, but again you see that Rover is in the way. So it's still Adam Prebble who hangs on to the race lead. Charles tries to get a good run out of Tower to the inside line, but that's part of the circuit just not long enough. He can't really get the car up alongside the Rover, so he can't do it under braking. Now, in theory, he would challenge at camp. However, Turbo Rover, bigger engine, normally aspirated Peugeot, gap's going to open up, and there it is. Look, it's happening. So Nick Charles, frustrated, will have to claw back some of the time under braking, and then through the S's halfway around the next lap. shows the way the championship works. You've got this great mix of the cars with turbo versus normally aspirated, bigger engines versus small, and the Rover leading the way of the less experienced Adam Prebble. The gap over the line was 0.3 of a second, and here comes Hutchings right up alongside Charles now. The yellow Audi storms alongside. That's another turbo car, and he's gone through. The 1.8 turbo Audi TT up into second spot. Charles tries to fight back straight away. They've got more back markers ahead as well. 1 minute and 40 seconds plus 1 lap to go. Hutchings goes wide out of Quarry, but Nick Charles hasn't got the speed coming out of the corner to challenge. What he's got to do now is try and keep at bay Tony Dolly. Charles, however, is leading his class. The others are all in Class A because they're turbo cars or those with an over 1800cc engine. David Kift there, you can see, about to work his way past Peter Weston. Another experienced driver is Peter, 57 years of age in his green MG, gets out of the way. David Kift goes past him. Right, so that's second place man Tony Hutchings. Third behind him is number 1 Nick Charles, who spent most of the race attacking for the lead. Now finds himself back in third spot. Tony Dolly, the former touring car racer, is there fourth, the winner of the opening round a week ago. Is he going to be able to gain another place out of all of this? In terms of class points, it doesn't really matter, because even if he gets past Nick Charles, he'll still be third in his own class. Nick Charles leading Class B quite convincingly by David Kift, who is second in that class, being a rather distant fifth. Mark Wyatt, you're looking at there in the yellow Astra, having gone off in qualifying early on the first lap, is seventh, and he's working his way through traffic. There, eighth, you can see the yellow and blue MG ZR of the hugely experienced Nick Misen, and he's third in Class B behind Charles and Kift, and he works his way past the traffic. We've got 34 seconds of the race, plus the 1 lap tagged on at the end still to go. Darryl Radford hustling on in the Bora look as he dives down on the inside, heading into camp. Turns his way through, sorts out the back marker. That puts him now ahead on track, at least of Carl Loader.